Hey guys, I thought I'd just expand a little bit on that last video I posted about institutional investors and how that might be a game changer for Pokemon investing. Okay, so when I look at Pokemon investing as a Wall Street guy, I see a lot of potential. Even in the lean years, Pokemon goes up, let's say 10% on average. That's a pretty solid return for any asset class. Um, if I'm an analyst or I'm a portfolio manager at some hedge fund or money manager, right? I'm always looking for ways to, differentiate myself on that desk, make a name for myself, and, look for profitable investments. And it's kind of hard to overlook what Pokemon has done over its whole entire life cycle, especially in the last 5 to 6 years, and in particular, the last year or so, right? So, an institutional investor, in my mind, is somebody that has at least 100 million to invest. Okay, so you may or may not know this, but when it comes to hedge funds and money managers, someone that has 100 million under management is considered a small fish. In fact, the coverage you might get if you're looking to interact with a Goldman Sachs, a JP Morgan, a Bank of America, some large trading desk, you are not going to get favorable treatment across the board, whether it be with new syndicate deals or best pricing. They have bigger fish to keep them afloat and keep them profitable. But if you got $100 million in Pokemon, imagine an investor coming in and just swooping up tons of product. It would certainly move the market, and it would also create a whole new mindset that if one person's doing it, why not more? I mentioned Bitcoin, think 2017. Once the Bitcoin kind of got more mainstream, people started to take it more serious. And then you started to have a new class of investor, institutional investors. And really the rest is history. Once that kind of became a standardized part of or allocation to these large hedge funds and money managers portfolios, the price action on cryptocurrency and in particular Bitcoin really kind of just went through the roof. At that time, people were wondering what would be the next catalyst to see Bitcoin go up. It had already gone up a monumental amount since late 2009, early 2010. So people were thinking, how could it go up further? Well, that catalyst in and of itself, having new money coming in a substantial way, really moved prices. And again, the interesting thing here is how would those new investors be viewed by Pokemon and distributors? Because again, I'm an analyst, I'm a portfolio manager, I'm looking at the returns on Pokemon as an asset class, and I'm thinking, man, if I got a distributor and I got these things at a discount, 20, 30, 40% below market prices, and I can get a sizable amount, that's literally money in the bank. That's certainly easier than going and picking some stock and doing all your homework, creating an investment thesis, putting the pencil to the pad, and then just hoping that you can monetize on your hard work and ideas and that the stock goes up in a substantial way. When it comes to Pokemon, I'm not going to say it's a layup, but if you can get prices, and I would think they could get pretty darn good prices because of the type of size they could buy, they're already going to be in the money 10, 20, 30, 40% on some good product that has performed well, especially sealed product. That's where I think those guys, an institutional investor, would focus. I don't think it's worth their time to come in and try to sling singles. I really don't. There's just not enough volume and liquidity to do so. So if the focus is on sealed products specifically, they're obviously going to probably be looking at cases and beyond as much as they can get their hands on. That's going to move prices a lot. It really is. And you're going to hear a lot of people crying foul, and rightfully so. Like, how is that new type of investor going to be treated? Are they going to have access to distributors? How is Pokemon going to view it? Even let's just say they don't get access to distributors. And by the way, I think they would, just given the type of size, money they have behind them. But it's a pretty easy pitch, guys. You go to wealthy individuals or potentially institutional investors that invest in these hedge funds and money managers, and you give them the performance of what Pokemon has done. You give them your investment thesis. Hey, sealed products, look at this performance. Oh, by the way, we can get this in bulk, substantially below MSRP, potentially most times, and worst case, we can go out and we can, snap as much up as we can and try to diversify across, let's just say, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet, as much as they can get their hands on. That's clearly going to move markets. Even just one hedge fund or new institutional investor that has 100 million to work with, that's gonna have some serious price implications. It really is. And let's just say that they're successful. Guess what? It's the whole herd mentality. You're going to see a lot more people in that investor class, institutional investors, being like, hey, X, Y, and Z hedge fund down the road is killing it. I mean, they're absolutely killing it, going into Pokemon. And, this isn't rocket science. Like, we can do this. We can do the homework. It's a pretty solid opportunity. And if that happens, we could see an explosion in price. And I know that sucks for the people that play competitively. And it sucks for kids and everybody that's trying to enjoy the hobby and not see, pack prices, double MSRP because of scalpers. But the reality is, if there's an opportunity to make money, people are going to jump on it, man. And again, if I thought about this, and I can think about how that would look if I'm sitting in a conference room and I'm presenting to a bunch of potential investors that have sizable wealth. And even if I use the Kevin O'Leary approach, let's put 5% allocation towards Pokemon and let's do X amount to whatever other trading cards. And you start adding up investors, and it's not one hedge fund, but now you've got multiple ones. It's going to have an impact. Let's relate that or compare it to like the new print facility that's supposed to come online in late 2028. And if you didn't see that video, it was my second video. I talked about kind of back of the envelope math of what that might do to volume and the potential consequences on price action, specifically like what products it might affect, going off the rule of the 18-month window and who would fall into that versus not, given that it's not until late 2028 that this is supposed to come online. But, it's early 2026 now. Talk about all of 2026, all of 2027, and all of 2028, nearly 3 years, right? And that facility comes online. That's a long time for people to consider and think, maybe I should be getting into Pokemon. So let's say that even a few institutional investors creep into the Pokemon space. By the time that facility is up and running, they will be more able and willing than ever before to snap up all that additional size, given the amount of money they would have behind them. And oh, by the way, the whole hook, if you will, if people like the pushback might be in that said conference room where someone like me is pitching to some wealthy investors, be like, if you're worried about liquidity and the opportunity to buy enough size to make this meaningful, let's not panic. By the time this facility comes up in late 2028, I think there'll be more than enough opportunity to invest in Pokemon. And there's a lot of merit behind that, communication. So I think all the stars are kind of aligning for someone to do this. If poor me, listen, man, I come from humble beginnings. I don't know a lot of wealthy people. I may have worked on Wall Street, but I certainly don't know all the wealthy cats that are giving all these hedge fund managers hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to invest. But again, it's very competitive in Wall Street. And if there's an edge and you can put together a clear investment thesis, listen, man, Pokemon can be the real deal. And with the potential of additional size coming into the marketplace in late 2028, coupled with just the historical performance and the whole market trend is your friend, and the price velocity and movement that we've seen in Pokemon over just even the last year has been substantial. Even over the longer term horizon, performance has been great. It certainly has, I believe, outpaced the stock market since inception. So Now you're talking about potential catalysts in the form of, this new investor class. I've given you examples of how that might look. I think there's a lot to this, guys. I'm honestly not really sure why someone hasn't done this yet, and maybe they exist and they're just keeping their head down and keeping it quiet and a lid on it, because there is a real first mover advantage to being ready, prepared, have everything set up, have your business model in place for that 2028 printing facility to come online. If you're there first, you're going to have a serious advantage over other guys to be like, oh man, okay, so this really does work. And again, XYZ hedge fund or money manager down the street is killing it. Well, they've already got their brand, their name out there. They've already been talking to people. They're going to have a huge advantage. So it's something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying that they exist yet, but again, man, these analysts and portfolio managers, they're always looking for ways to make money. And this seems like a real potential opportunity. And I would just keep an eye on it. If you want to learn more, I know sometimes I use lingo and vernacular that is kind of like learning a foreign language when it comes to, using like price velocity and institutional investors and, price movement, that kind of stuff. You can message me, you can leave a comment. I'll do my best to fill in the gaps. But again, I'm differentiating myself by trying to provide things that I haven't seen out there that, to my knowledge, don't exist, at least in the mainstream, to help you have an edge as you collect and you invest in Pokemon. And to be considering the catalysts as well as things that could be detrimental to your investment thesis, especially like headwinds, and what could, really drag your performance down. But when I look at the ledger and I add up all the pros and cons, and I consider this X factor of institutional investors entering the marketplace and what an easy pitch that would be to wealthy investors, as well as there are also pockets or pods of institutional investors that have already pulled their money together that could come as a group as opposed to just talking to a bunch of individual wealthy people. Regardless of the type of institutional investor, it's a pretty easy pitch. It's pretty straightforward. The performance is there for all to see. And we could be talking about enough supply as well, especially by late 2028. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope to make more content like this. Again, moving. But once I'm, in my new place, things are going to hopefully happen rapidly for me in a positive way and to your benefit. You'll see more product from me, more content, more knowledge. And I'm here to collaborate and help. This, again, it's my passion, man. So hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Thank you.